There's a new study out that cast doubt on the claims that American electric utilities didn't actually know that fossil fuels had an impact on the climate. Really? Now, what's interesting is that study says, no, they actually did know. The Energy and Policy Institute study, citing industry documents, found that utilities and industry groups that were aiming to investigate the effects of carbon dioxide as early as the 1970s, they actually found that, oh my God, there was an effect. Well, crap, now we have to hide it. And so later on, after they did their own studies and found out that what they were doing, since they were in the energy industry, these utilities and utility groups, after they found out the truth that their business model is harming the climate and exacerbating climate change and could have, quote, climate change possible over the next 30 years may significantly affect the electric utility industry. After they found that out, they decided, well, you know what? We don't care. We're going to do we're going to worry about our own bottom line. And before I get to you, Ron, for your response, the industry heard warnings about climate change as early as 1968 when a science advisor to President Johnson told an EEI convention that carbon dioxide emissions could produce major consequences on the climate, possibly even triggering catastrophic effects such as have occurred from time to time in the past. So they knew, and so did ExxonMobil, which around the same time was doing its own studies. But again, they just like ExxonMobil, they said, well, we actually don't care about that. What we care about is maintaining our bottom line. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to essentially muddy the waters on climate change, and we're going to make sure that nobody holds us accountable for any of that by spreading pseudoscience and funding these think tanks and stuff that go out and basically try to debunk actual science on this issue.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I mean, they knew of consequences, so they started a campaign that's still going to this day to dismiss climate change, and they're still at it. And now they're in a situation where they are destroying our environment, and they're not handling any of the costs. We are, the citizens are. So you tell me who's really getting the corporate welfare here?
Right.
It's these industries. It's the oil and gas companies. They are not bearing any of the costs of the destruction they're doing. They're bearing none of it. They're getting these violation slaps on the wrist that are barely, I mean, it's like a parking ticket for the average person at best. The violations and the fines they get. Meanwhile, they're making our environment their playground and their profit center at the expense of our water wells and the expense of our air and the expense of our greenhouse gas emissions. And they don't give a shit, and they're not being held accountable. And it is corrupt beyond measure.
Mm-hmm. And it's further evidence of why we need something to combat that. I thought about this real quick. There was a women's march. There was a march for healthcare, I believe. And there was also a march for science, which was great. We should also have a march for clean energy. But beyond that, we should take all those people that were involved in these marches and actually get them out there to, not only vote, but also to run for office so that we can get politicians in there and an energized voting base that's going to vote in favor of clean energy. And I think that's the only way we're going to be able to change. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.